December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor is burning. Smoke coils into the Hawaiian sky as America's Pacific Fleet lies crippled. Overnight, the United States is thrust into a global conflict unlike any in history. Millions of soldiers will soon be scattered across continents, from the frozen Aleutians to the deserts of North Africa and the humid jungles of the Pacific. The U.S. faces a monumental question. How do you house a moving army across the globe, in every imaginable climate, with resources already stretched thin? Wood is scarce. Concrete takes too long. Tents fail against wind and rain. The answer wouldn't come from a weapon or a general, but from engineers. In early 1941, before the U.S. officially entered the war, the Navy's Bureau of Yards and Docks issued a desperate challenge. They needed a portable building that could be shipped anywhere, assembled by anyone, and withstand everything, from monsoon rains to Arctic frost. A building as strong as steel, as light as air, and as simple as a puzzle. That request landed at Quonset Point, Rhode Island, a quiet naval station that would soon lend its name to one of the most revolutionary structures of the 20th century. The engineers at Quonset Point didn't start from zero. They studied the British Nissen hut, a semi-cylindrical shelter from World War I. The Nissen design worked, but it was heavy, complicated, and poorly ventilated. The Americans needed something better, faster, modular, and perfectly suited for mass production. They reimagined the concept, a self-supporting arched frame that could be assembled without cranes or foundations. Every piece would fit together seamlessly, like parts of a machine. The project was green-lit. Within weeks, drafts were drawn, materials sourced, and a team of naval engineers began crafting what would soon be known as the Quonset hut. By the spring of 1941, the first Quonset hut stood on the Rhode Island coast. Its shape was simple, a half-cylinder made of corrugated steel sheets bolted to curved ribs, with wooden ends enclosing each side. Inside, the open floor offered maximum usable space. The arched frame shed rain and snow naturally, while its steel shell resisted corrosion and wind. It could be built without a foundation, assembled on dirt, sand, or snow. 4 men could raise it in just 6 hours. No heavy machinery, no specialized tools. When the first test came, a brutal Atlantic storm, the hut stood firm, unfazed. The Navy immediately ordered hundreds. The Quonset hut's power was in its design. Its curved shell distributed stress evenly, meaning thin, lightweight metal could carry immense loads. The corrugation added rigidity, preventing buckling under pressure. Because the parts were standardized, every hut could be built anywhere and replaced anywhere. No 2 huts needed to be identical, yet every part fit another perfectly. For the U.S. military, that meant logistics became simpler, faster, and more reliable, a critical advantage in global warfare. When America entered the war after Pearl Harbor, demand skyrocketed. Factories across the U.S. were converted almost overnight to produce Quonset kits. Assembly lines stamped steel panels day and night. Each kit was packaged and labeled with precise instructions. Every bolt, brace, and beam had a number. A small group of men could open the crates, follow the guide, and have shelter by sundown. It was architecture designed for movement, mass-produced shelter that kept pace with the war machine. Soon, the Quonset's curved silhouette dotted the world map. On Pacific islands, they rose among palm trees, serving as barracks and medical posts. In North Africa, they housed supply depots amid shifting sands. In Britain, they became command centers. Each hut reflected the adaptability of the Allied advance, simple, efficient, and unstoppable. By 1943, production had soared past 100,000 units, each one identical in strength and spirit, yet serving a unique role on the battlefield. For the men who lived within them, the Quonset hut was more than a structure. It was home. The echo of boots on metal floors became a daily soundtrack. In tropical climates, heat radiated from the steel walls. In freezing regions, coal stoves kept the air warm while frost crept along the ribs. Despite their discomforts, soldiers grew fond of them, solid, reliable, and safe. In a war of chaos, the curved roof offered a strange comfort, a sense of permanence amid impermanence. The standard Quonset measured 16 by 36 feet, but soon specialized versions appeared. Wider huts, up to 40 by 100 feet, became warehouses and hospitals. Some were lined with felt for insulation, while others used coconut fiber. The strand steel model used galvanized steel ribs to resist rust and termites, and the Pacific hut, with all metal ends, could withstand both humidity and typhoons. In just a few years, the Quonset family grew into dozens of types, proving that the simplest design could solve countless problems. The Quonset hut wasn't glamorous, but it was a symbol of the Allies' logistical supremacy. While the Axis powers struggled with shortages and delays, the United States could ship ready-made buildings across oceans. Wherever an Allied foothold was established, the huts followed, a city in crates. On Normandy beaches, they rose beside makeshift runways. On Pacific atolls, they housed repair crews and surgeons. The Quonset hut was the physical embodiment of American efficiency, modular, mobile, and unstoppable. When the war finally ended in 1945, the U.S. military had more than 150,000 Quonset huts in service. With peace came surplus and opportunity. The government sold the huts to civilians for a fraction of their cost. Veterans bought them to live in while attending college on the GI Bill. Universities from coast to coast were filled with half-round huts converted into dormitories and lecture halls. Families, desperate for affordable housing, transformed them into cozy homes. The same steel shell that had sheltered soldiers now sheltered their return to peace. Post-war America faced a housing shortage, and the Quonset hut filled the gap. It became a symbol of rebirth and resilience. Small towns used them as schools, churches, and community halls. Farmers turned them into barns and workshops. Even in war-torn cities across Europe and Asia, leftover huts became temporary homes and hospitals. The same structure that once followed destruction now became an instrument of reconstruction. Architects soon took note of the Quonset's genius. Its prefabricated design inspired modernist ideas about modular living and efficient construction. Some called it the people's architecture, democratic, accessible, and endlessly adaptable. Buckminster Fuller's geodesic domes, NASA's early space habitats, and even Cold War bunkers carried the DNA of the Quonset's curved steel logic. Its lesson was clear. Simplicity was not the enemy of strength. It was its foundation. Even decades later, the Quonset hut never disappeared. In developing countries, humanitarian groups repurposed them as medical stations and classrooms. After natural disasters, they provided instant shelter. In the Arctic and deserts alike, they endured with minimal maintenance. Many still stand today, rusted, repainted, and repurposed, silent monuments to an era when design met necessity and changed the world. Each one carries the memory of the men who once built, lived, and fought within its walls. The Quonset hut's success wasn't about steel or bolts, it was about human adaptability. It represented the wartime belief that any problem could be solved with enough ingenuity and courage. Its shape, simple, curved, and strong, reflected a deeper truth. Survival requires flexibility. From the Pacific to post-war America, its half-round silhouette became an emblem of hope. Everywhere it appeared, people knew that life, however fragile, could continue beneath that arching steel sky. Today, architects and engineers continue to learn from the Quonset legacy. Its core ideas, prefabrication, modularity, and sustainability, have returned in the 21st century as essential solutions to housing crises and disaster relief. Tiny homes, portable shelters, and rapid deployment structures all trace their lineage back to that Rhode Island invention. What was once born of wartime urgency has become a timeless symbol of efficiency and resilience. From the burning shores of Pearl Harbor to the peaceful suburbs of post-war America, the Quonset hut has stood the test of time. It protected soldiers, rebuilt nations, and inspired generations of engineers. More than a structure, it became a philosophy that true strength lies not in complexity, but in clarity of purpose. Decades later, those same steel arches still stand against the wind, silent, enduring witnesses to a world that rebuilt itself beneath their curve. Thanks for watching. If you found this story of ingenuity as fascinating as we did, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories of design that change the world.